Hi, my name is Ruben Moreland, and the effect I'm about to share with you is a torn and restored card trick that I've been doing for about 4 years now. The effect is very visual. You can use a borrowed deck of cards, and you can show both sides of the playing card the entire way through the routine. There are multiple phases included on this DVD, with variations that you can mix and match to create your own personal routine. I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Ruben Moreland, and the effect I'm about to share with you is a torn and restored card trick that I've been doing for about 4 years now. The effect is very visual. You can use a borrowed deck of cards, and you can show both sides of the playing card the entire way through the routine. There are multiple phases included on this DVD, with variations that you can mix and match to create your own personal routine. I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. Okay, let's get into the explanation. I feel that the best possible method of learning this effect is to see what the audience sees. Therefore, we have shot this effect through a mirror so you can see both the reflection, performance view, and what the performer sees while doing the effect. I really think this will help you learn, so let's get into it right now. In order to create the gimmick, you will need 2 playing cards that have the top right-hand corner matching. This way you can use a borrowed deck and you don't need to use a duplicate playing card. You can see this corner here and this corner here are the same. So we'll start with this one, the 7 of clubs. Fold the card, both long ways and short ways, like so, and you need to get this really creased out. It needs to be extremely flimsy. You'll see in a minute why. Okay, so that's one way, and then the other way, just like so. Okay. Perfect. So here's my 7 of clubs. I'm going to create a tear on one side of the card, going down a little bit further than the edge. You can see on this side how I've gone almost all the way to the end of that circle there. In addition, face up, I'm going to cut it to the right here. So now I have this corner sticking up right there. So this is the first piece. The other piece must match the top right-hand corner of the ripped playing card as the rip is to the left. So I'm going to rip off this corner. In addition to ripping this corner off, you need to create a border around the side of the playing card. You can see here that this card is a little bit bigger than an actual quarter of a playing card. So I'm going to tear that out there first. Okay, we don't need that anymore. In addition, I'm going to do it over here. It's about half a border in thickness. Goes a little more. Perfect. And here is all you need to complete the effect. This is not required to complete the task of restoring the card, but I believe it's a little subtlety that will help better accomplish the illusion of doing so. You take a scissor here and you scrape off the edges so that it's a more exaggerated white border in between the apparent restored pieces of the playing card, and you'll understand this a little bit later. So I'm scraping off these pieces here, and now you can really tell that these pieces have been taken apart and restored. It really defines the difference between all 4 pieces, you can see right there. And it matches that torn piece, so it looks appropriate. In order to accomplish the tear sequence, you begin with the corner piece inside your right pocket. You use the prepared gimmick by folding the torn pieces towards yourself and then away from you one way. So you are left with the border on the top and left side, and it looks like this little sandwich piece. Perfect. So that's the beginning. Now I'm using a red card to explain the tear sequence so you can define between the green gimmick and the regular card. I've also pre-folded this in one direction outwards so that you do not need to fold outwards to show the audience the face of this card. Therefore, you can use any other card that's not matching the restored card, so you can do this with an impromptu with the deck of cards that you borrow from someone with a quick setup. So, this piece begins folded up on the left side of the card, behind there. The card is folded inwards towards yourself and creased, just like so. You open up the card again. This piece is going right over to that crease, and it's actually going to help guide your tear so you have as perfect a tear as possible. Right there. 2 pieces. Now I'm going to turn this piece around and I'll explain why later, and match them up here. These two pieces are rotating. Notice how the gimmick is staying face up though. They sandwich back together, and now you're left with the two pieces and your gimmick in the back on the left-hand side. I fold this piece down, and I leave a lip here. So I'm not folding it perfectly in half. You can see that lip there, and there's a reason for that. The second piece pulls out a little bit and folds perfectly in half. Okay? Now, you pick up the one single edge and you tear that. In the audience's mind, this is both pieces. Now that we have torn up the playing card, we are left in this situation. One single piece in the right hand and three pieces in the left hand. One is the gimmick. Around the gimmick is the second piece, sandwiched, and then a third piece right in front. So you're left in this situation. Now what I'm going to do is that longer piece here is going to end up in the right hand, just like so. And this is how the motion goes. Your hands come together with the right hand in front. That piece goes in front. Your thumb strips back that larger piece. Your hands separate and spread, just like so. To the audience, this looks as fair as possible. Now the two pieces that are dirty, as you would say, is this one right here with the gimmick and this other piece that has this fold. Both of these pieces end up in the back and stay in motion to create the illusion that they're two single pieces and they're clean as possible. Now what we are going to do is end up taking all three pieces away and only having the gimmick up front to appear as two pieces. The right hand is going to go right in the front of these other cards. Now this larger gimmick is going to go in the back. What happens here is my left hand will spread the gimmick out and it will naturally open into two pieces, while this larger piece goes behind the whole packet. To the audience now, it looks like I'm holding four pieces of the playing card. Then what I do is I take these two pieces that's really the one piece, pull it away, and all this goes into your pocket and you never look at it for the rest of the trick. You are now left with the one gimmick that appears to be two separate pieces. In order to accomplish phase one, you need to have this corner piece that was ripped out in your right pocket. Now for explanation purposes, I'm going to use a red piece that matches on the face, but it's different on the back so that you'll be able to follow where the piece is in relation to the gimmick. So we'll get rid of the green piece for now and we will use the red piece for explanation purposes. I'm going to put that red piece away for now. Now the first phase begins with only the one gimmick here, displayed as two pieces. From the front, it looks like two pieces naturally. Now, from the back, you can see that there's a little piece here. This edge is bent naturally by folding that piece over. What you want to do is avoid having that bend for the rest of the routine. So, you place the pieces back together, and my right thumb is going to bend that corner in the opposite direction, just as a little subtle thing to help the pieces look more natural during the routine. You hold the card between your index finger and your thumb, like so. The open ends are to your left, where the pips are, and your thumb is over the center of the card with both hands. This is how you get ready. You hold the piece like so, and you're holding each corner with your left index and thumb. You're going to open your fingers without opening the pieces of the card too much. Notice how the bottom piece is behind my hand. Then you open up both pieces and you can cleanly display the two pieces of the playing card. Now this is a very angly situation here. So the more your finger is tilted back toward yourself, more like the more your thumb is to the right, that's a better way of understanding this, you can see more of the card yourself, but that means the audience can see less of this piece here. So your angles broaden significantly. Back from performance view, it looks like so. If you bend the pieces together, you can show that the card is restored. Now here's the work on that motion. You are now in this position, like before. My index and thumb of my left hand are literally going to push those pieces together, and I'm going to wiggle. That's a little subtle thing that helps create the illusion that the pieces are together. Right when they're together, my right middle finger contacts the corner of this card, and my thumb touches my right middle finger, and my left index finger flicks down and up to show the piece. Once again, your fingers go together, you wiggle, right middle finger touches your thumb, and you flick up to show. Now at this moment, you can turn over the card and cleanly display, as long as you're holding this packet together with one of your fingers at any given time. Phase 2 of this torn and restored utilizes the third piece, being the extra piece that you have in your right pocket. So I'm going to reach in and pull out that extra piece from my pocket. Now right now, like before, I'm using a red piece. Normally this will match this. Do not perform it with two different colored pieces. That's bad magic. So, to continue. We use the two pieces here. Notice in my left hand, the full gimmick, there is a flap right here. The idea of it, this piece is going to go into that flap and squeeze in and stay in place. So this is the work. My middle finger is on the corner here. My index is by the center. Now all in all, I'm holding on to this flap. My thumb will stay in the front, and notice how it bevels the piece as I bend. So I'm going to display the two pieces, insert this third piece inside this area, and now I'm holding the piece between the flap. The card is now in the flap. You can see by both sides. Now from the front, the second phase looks like so. The piece is placed in and restored. And you can show both sides of the card. From the back, this is what you're doing. The card is inside this flap. I'm creating pressure with these three fingers. This card goes down to the edge, and you match up the pip so it looks good. If you tore out this small piece correctly, you'll have an extra amount of room to be squeezed in between that flap. Now my thumb pulls back and lets go, creates a little snap, which really sells the fact that this piece is in there and connected to the others. From the front, it looks just as good, even in different colors. That's where the piece is. My thumb is going to contact the front of the card and my index finger on the back, and I'm going to create pressure, turn over the card, and flick that top piece, because that piece is really connected to the gimmick. Doing that motion in full speed looks like that. Now that creates the illusion that you're holding all of these pieces and really taking advantage of the fact that you can show both sides throughout every phase of the trick. Now the get ready for the third phase utilizes the fact that you can show both sides of the playing card. So my thumb contacts the front and the index finger in the back, and I turn over and I flick this piece. Now the piece attached is this bottom one, but people do not realize the difference. This is the get ready. It looks like this. I turn over the card and I display. That's the get ready. Here's the explanation. Back where we were with the piece attached, you can show both sides of the card. Now this is the work. You are left in this position with the piece at the bottom. My index finger and thumb are pinching this top right-hand corner, which is the packet of all the pieces, but it's hitting the dead center of the playing card, but only holding onto this piece. I rotate the card with my right hand around that pivot point that I've made, which has a lot of pressure between my index finger and thumb that's holding this piece inside the card. Now, I'm left right here. To the audience, it looks like I'm turning over the card. What I'm really doing is opening this flap here. Behind my hands, I push the card like so. Now to the audience, they think that the card is coming out back here, where my finger is, even though it's flat. You continue in front of the fingers. Fingers are concealing these pieces the whole time, and it closes. My thumb of my left hand pushes that extra piece inwards so that it really will not show on the back here. I pinch from the corner, the bottom left, with my left hand, and I hold it like before, and now I'm holding this piece in position. To the audience now, it looks like I'm holding by that edge I just attached to the card. Now you can see the card right here. I'm showing that to you right here behind. The card originally would be placed in a position like so. So you do not see it right there. Now, I display that this piece is here. By doing this, I show, and I go to get the last piece. This is what I am really doing. The piece is in position just like it was before, held between the three fingers, sorry. My thumb is going to contact the extra piece and pull it back into a finger palm as I grab the top right corner and the bottom left, and I push in to display to the audience that there is a gap left. This is a very clean display, and it really sells the fact that there's a third piece missing. Now I point to that extra place, and now I'm performing a Ramsey subtlety by holding the piece in place. Now I go to get the last piece. When I go to retrieve the last piece, what I'm really doing is ditching that piece in my pocket. And I'm coming out, and now all I'm left with is two empty hands and this following piece. That was the second phase of the torn restored card. For the last phase, this is how the production looks. And there's the card, completely restored. From the back, what I'm really doing is this final flap is just flapping up into position and staying in contact. Because I've made these bends, the card is warped slightly enough that keeps that piece in place. Now, during phase 2, I just put away that piece from finger palm. What I'm doing is I'm pretending to take out the fourth piece while simultaneously ditching that extra piece. Now I have nothing in my hand. My index finger contacts here, this edge where the flap is, and my thumb touches the other edge. So I'm holding the card in this position. Now my thumb is going to bend the card upwards, so it goes upwards like a rainbow. My finger will go up, and I'm slowly rolling the playing card out. Once I get to a little bit more than halfway, I bend both this piece and this piece, both top pieces, down. And what I'm doing, this is exaggerated, I'm undoing that bend I did at the top here. So originally I was bent down, and now I'm bending it back up to undo it so it's flat. So you're rolling the card up to the top, you bend down, and I display. Notice how my fingers are covering that tear. Now my thumb in the back is working out any extra bends to make sure the card is perfectly together. I display, and I turn over the card to show the audience. And you're left with empty hands showing fairly both sides of the playing card. That is the third phase. I'm going to recap now the entire routine from start to finish in closer to full speed. The gimmick is here in your left hand. The extra piece is in your right hand pocket. And now I have this indifferent card for the tear sequence. The gimmick is placed on the left side of this card with the border on the left and the top. I fold the card in half. Using the card gimmick as a guide for the tear, I display both pieces. Put the pieces together, rotate, simultaneously keeping that piece upwards. I fold back the first piece closest to you, create a lip here, then I fold back the second piece, crease. I rip off this one single piece, pretending that that's both pieces. Hands contact, I strip out, and I display 4 pieces. I show the 4 pieces like that with one hand, and I take away the gimmick, displaying, pretending it's both pieces. The rest of these go away into your pocket, and you don't need to touch those for the rest of the trick. I show the 2 pieces, bending that piece back in the corner with my left thumb. I display just like so, making sure my angles are together on the sides here. My fingers of my left hand are going to push together, wiggle, my middle finger contacts my thumb, and I show. Turn over the card, I can flick, and I display the first piece has been restored. Now I reach back into my pocket and pull out the pre-torn piece. I open up the flap, I place the piece inside the flap, match up the pip, pull back with my thumb, let it snap into position. My thumb and my index finger turn over the playing card. I display. I rotate the card just like so. And this flap is turned over in the motion of turning over the entire card. Now the piece is held with my left hand by this extra flap. My thumb steals off into finger palm as I display that there is an extra piece left. I do a Ramsey subtlety and I show that this piece needs to be put in. I go into my pocket, I ditch that piece, pretending to have an extra piece. My index finger contacts, my thumb contacts the bottom here. I roll up the card, I bend down, undoing that roll. I show the card just like so, and I turn it over to display for the audience. The card has been restored, just like that. The first phase of the torn and restored, that looks like so, is very angly. So I've developed a way to begin the effect without doing that if you wanted to perform this for someone with a large group of people with them, so it's not one-on-one. This is more of a one-on-one version, and here is an alternate version. You start off with the extra piece inside, the extra piece is a different color for display, inside the first flap. The border is also on the left and the top, but you can see that it comes out a little bit on the side here. You don't need to worry about that because you will always be in motion. You do the tear sequence just as before. You fold in, you tear. There's a more detailed version of the tear sequence earlier on in the DVD. So I bend down just like so, and you're doing the exact same routine, tear sequence, that you do before. You rip, you're sliding out that piece, and you can slide. Now, even though this extra piece is in there, it will still stay as a bundle when you're rotating. Now, this is a little more risky, so I keep my thumb in motion and my hands in motion the whole time so that they don't catch that extra lip there. There's nothing you can do to avoid that. So I go like this, and I display. Now, I do exactly as I did before. I spread that out, and I show those two pieces. I pull it out, put the rest away. Now I'm left with the gimmick and that extra piece all set up. To get into position, I fold back, I do the same bend, I open up the flap and pull out the piece and show the two pieces face down. Make sure both sides are face down as you pull it out. You have to turn it over quickly. Now, for performance view, it looks like so. The pieces attach just like this, and there they are. Those are the pieces. From the back, I'm doing the same thing as the second phase, but with the first phase. This piece goes inside this big sandwich here, and my thumb and fingers are squeezing with my left hand to hold that piece into position. Now I've created several ways of turning over the card. These are the three ways in performance. The first method looks just like this. You turn over the card, and you show both sides. Therefore, I've stolen out that extra piece. That's the first way. The second method, you place the pieces, you restore them. Okay? So once the pieces are restored, you go and you turn over the card, just like that. And you show the piece. Now the extra piece is in this hand again. The third way looks like this. Piece is restored. You show it, you turn it over, and you can have them feel the front here, that piece is there. So those are the three ways, and I'm going to get to them in depth right now. The first method of restoring that first piece happens like this. I rotate both together, and I'm creating pressure with my index finger and thumb, holding that piece, just like in the second phase. My thumb picks up that first flap, goes underneath it, and I display. Index finger goes under that open flap, pulls it up, and I continue rotating down. My thumb catches as I turn over. Now, on the back, my thumb can pull that piece out into finger palm, and I can show the first piece has been restored. That's the first method. The second method is like this. The pieces are together. Now this flap is already open, so this is a little bit angly. I restore the first piece. My thumb opens up. My middle finger contacts back here. So I go like this. As I turn over, my middle finger curls and pulls that piece away. You can see from the front how I'm pulling it away. So I'm pulling that piece away as I turn it over and display that the piece has been restored. Now the piece is already away in my hand, and I show. So again, what happens is the card is restored. I turn it over as I steal that away, and I can display. The third method of doing so, once the playing card is restored, you hold up on that contact point at the top and the bottom. your thumb opens up, and your thumb and index finger flatten out quickly as your middle finger pulls in. And I'm going to show that as the back, but I'm going to show here as the front, inside here. So I turn over like so. And now that piece is hidden behind, and people can freely feel that the piece is now restored. Once again, the piece is here. I'll show you from the front so you can see a little better. The piece is here. This flap opens as that bends in, and I show there. And I can show both sides. Once you chose whichever version you want to use, you have this extra piece in your hand. You simply go into your pocket and pretend to pull out a new piece. Just keep that piece in your hand. And now you're ready to complete the routine with the second and third phase, just like you would any other way. So that's the alternative first phase. I understand a lot of people want to perform this on the streets or for individual people, and when they want to do that, they want to hand it out to their spectator. Normally I'd use this in a parlor situation where I didn't have to hand it out, but here is an alternate handling so that you can give the card away at the end of the trick. The final piece comes up and gets placed right where that gap is, and the card is restored. There it is. You can show both sides. You can see I've already switched the piece out and the card. And there it is. This is the handling of the alternate ending of my routine. You are now in this position. You're showing that you have restored 3 pieces. I'm using a completely different card. In reality, this should be an identical duplicate of the card that you are restoring, or else it wouldn't look very good. So I'm using a different color back and a different face so you can tell the difference. This card is folded up like so, and the top left-hand corner is bent down a little bit, like that. So you show the playing card, you take the piece, you pull it out from your pocket, displaying that last piece. This is going to fold down like this, so you can show, and I'm pinching with my left hand. These are completely flush with each other. The card folds up. I rotate, keeping a lot of pressure here to make sure that they're completely aligned. And my thumb goes into that lip and pinches those 2 pieces together. Now I can display the card. You can see from the front, the card looks like that final piece is displayed. Now it's really that extra whole piece in the back. Display the card, and my finger flips that up and down. And then my thumb lets that piece go. Now what I've done is I've folded this piece in half, and I'm showing the front of the card. It looks like I'm just turning over the card. Now I can fold that bundle again, steal it off, and hand it out for examination. You're left dirty with this in your hand, so you can drop your hands to your sides or do whatever you like to ditch this piece. And now you're ended completely clean. There's nothing else to do. Once again, here is the final restoration so that you can hand out the card. You have this piece that's identical, bent like so, with that flap. You bring the piece forward onto the card. This folds down and you display. You rotate down with your thumb underneath the flap. You display that it is restored. Index finger pulls that up, rotates down, and lets that first piece go up. Now I'm simultaneously folding that up. I fold that there. I display the card on both sides, and I can hand it out for examination. these are a couple of little subtleties and fun things I think you can add to the routine. Makes it look a little more impossible. So you can take the two pieces and watch. Right when they touch, literally, right on that corner there, they attach. See, and not just there, the whole piece, right there. That's the first one, and this is how it's done from the back. It goes in just like before, but you're pinching it by the mere corner, as small of a piece you can, and it's holding there. Right then, you can flick that back so it's like you're separating the two pieces, and then go back into the regular restore, or you can hold it there and push it in. So it's like along the line that's going in, it looks like it's forming together. You can also try and take a risk and hold it up here and tap. See, as I'm tapping, the piece starts falling into place. Just like that. From the front, see, now it's starting to form like it's going back to before. And then you can just readjust, make sure it's perfectly aligned, and it's back to normal. And you can go back to any turnover that you please. If you want to keep the same first phase, you can use this concept of hanging by a thread in the second phase. I can hold it up just like that and let go and have it hanging there. Then I can use a fingertip and bend it into place, just like that. Let go, and then you can turn it over just like before, and it works the same way. This is another way of doing the first restoration using this method. I hold up the two pieces, just like so, and watch as they come together, and I can turn it around and show you both sides. From the back, this is what that looks like. My ring finger touches one corner and my thumb in the other. The index finger goes in the center. That's covering this angle here so that that doesn't flash, this top edge. So I'm holding these pieces. You can see like so. My thumb and my ring finger are going to come together and contact that card. Immediately, now my thumb grabs a hold of that piece coming from the ring finger. My ring finger comes up to this corner from here, goes up to the top, and pulls down as my thumb rolls around and pinches it all together. Then I can turn the card around as long as I keep pressure on this packet up here to keep it solid. One more time, I'll show you the performance of it. You hold the pieces like so. They come together. Thumb holds onto it. Ring finger closes. You turn it over and you show. Whenever you're doing this method, always be aware that there's an extra thickness to this. So when you're turning over the card, try not to open that gap and keep them as together as possible during that movement, because you don't want to flash a thickness and create suspicion. But that's the other method of doing this restore. Hope you enjoy. One of the great things about this effect is that you can perform it face up if you wish. All I have done here is I have torn the piece in the opposite direction, like so. So now it goes from the left and then down when it's face up. Also, the corner matching is now the top left-hand corner that has the pip. There are some limitations. When you're using a face card, you must use a diamond because it has to match on both sides, and it has to be perfectly symmetrical playing card because it's going to be face up the whole time. You can choose to do it with a court card, and there it doesn't need to be a specific pip. So, just like before, you bend in the opposite direction, and you complete the exact same routine, only this time, face up. Thanks for purchasing this DVD. I really hope you take the time to learn and master this routine. It's one of my favorites. Don't let this DVD limit you. I included many variations, but try and come up with your own. This method opens limitless possibilities. Before I go, I want to thank one more person. His name is Max Crone. He first introduced me the idea of doing this routine with this specific method. So hats off to you, Max. Thanks a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed. Take care.